if we give you guys a blank check, you represent your generation. Ask from the next generation. For 1 second, be Oliver Twist. You ask for more. What will be that one thing that you're asking for?
I feel like there's so much pressure, like for young people these days, to not be idle. You don't have to spread yourself so thin, and you don't have to put yourself into every single thing. It's okay to have one thing going on.
Whilst praying and aspiring for the next level, are there some ways that young people especially can prepare, for the next phase of life? What do you think?
I think that's where having a mentor or someone who has experience in that particular phase comes in, because experience is costly. You pay with your time, you pay with your emotions, sometimes you even pay with your money. Them sharing their own experience with you is more like you having the same experience, but this time you're having it for free.
In addition to mentorship, right, another thing that might help is doing like a lot of like shadow work, like work with yourself. Some of that work is external, like with mentors, but most of it can also be internal with yourself.
If you were to be born in our time, what would you have done differently?
I'd have been bolder, more courageous, and more audacious. Today is very special for us at Storified Africa. I am joined by 2 brilliant young minds. They represent the next generation of African leaders. They are just stepping out into the world of work. But more importantly, they have allowed me into their story as their mentor. And today, we'll be turning the mic around to hear their truths, their journey, and their hope. Welcome to a new episode of Storified Africa. I am Ifemena Iyede, your host. And with me here, I have
Chinenye Udenta
and
David Souza.
Welcome and thank you for coming.
Thank you, Ma. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I'll allow them to introduce themselves briefly by telling us the course they studied and the stage they are at right now in life and in their journey. Please permit me to start with the lady. So, Chinenye, please.
Hello, my name is Chinenye Udenta, and I just finished studying economics at the University of Lagos, and I just recently graduated.
By the way, Chinenye actually just finished her degree 3 days ago. Yes, so congratulations. Welcome to the world of work. We'll get into your journey. And on my left, David?
I'm David, studied public administration in the University of Benin. I'm currently serving.
David is on the National Youth Service Program in Nigeria. For those that might not really know what the NYC is all about, this is a mandatory 1-year program that every graduate in Nigeria is expected to do to serve the government before officially going into the world of work. So thank you again, Chinenye and David.
Thank you,
Thank you for having me.
And so we'll be starting this discussion on our mentoring journey. We've been doing mentoring for some time now. Please, can you share a bit how our journey started this time? I'll start with David. Yes, if you can tell us what was happening actually at that point in your life.
Okay, I was returning, and at a book reading event, you got to share your story. I've always had this mind that everyone who, is doing well in the society is from a high status upbringing and all. But when you shared your story, and you even mentioning that you attended Uniben, I saw that you were someone that, that understood what it means to be where I'm at, and you have been able to achieve something that I would like to achieve myself. And you throw in the offer to mentor some of the students there. Although I was interning, but I had to take the offer myself. So that was on a Saturday.
Yeah,
then on the Monday, I think I was thinking about it so much that I didn't know when I said a silent prayer and I said, I just want to meet her again.
Oh, wow. Seriously?
Yes.
Wow, that's so touching.
And I think I came to that floor and I saw you. I was trying to, because I didn't remember your face. So when I saw you, I was trying to remember, because it was just 2 days.
Yeah.
And then I remembered she was the one I was praying to see.
Ah, that's the prayer answered.
And I approached you, and I think that's how it started.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I think I remember because I just stepped out of the lift,
Yes.
the lift cabin in the office, and someone was running behind me, say, excuse me, ma, like, okay. And you said, yeah. So I remember that. Thanks for sharing that. For Chineye, can you share, how did our mentoring journey start?
I can remember it wasn't as like prayer field and this thing like the video. It was like more casual.
Yeah.
So I remember that you were wearing a red dress and you
Oh,
were
wow.
in the
You
lift.
even remember the
Yes,
clothes, the color.
it was red, and you were in the lift. And I saw your dress. At that time, I thought you were someone like my age. I thought you were like younger.
Wow.
So I was like, oh, your dress is so pretty. I love your dress. And we now started talking, and I found out that when I realized like you were old, I was like, did I mess up by complimenting your dress? I wanted to take it back. But I was like, oh, no, we're talking. You asked if I was an intern, and then it got to my floor. So you said that, oh, I should come to your office, come and find you, that we can continue talking in the lift, that you like bold people. That, because you asked me, why did I decide to compliment your dress? And I was like, because it was nice and I liked it, so I'll tell you. And I went to my floor to see like a colleague that works on my floor, and he directed me to your office. And when I got there, we started talking. I remember our first conversation was like about school, about like why I'm doing this internship, what exactly I'm looking to gain for it. And I found out that you mentor people, and I didn't go to my internship expecting like to come out with a mentor, but it was as if everything clicked, right? And I was like, okay, yeah, that's how this journey started.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, I try to remember, but not all the details anymore. So thank you for reminding me about that. I truly believe that the next generation, we should talk with them more. The more we have conversations with them, the more we make them feel relaxed. So many a times when I get into the elevator, I see young people and I just say hello, and we start talking. But for you to have taken that initiative to start the conversation by complimenting my clothes, I think that was very bold and courageous of you. I think something that you should keep up. I was just wondering though, so when we talk about mentoring, I mean, you mentioned that you didn't come to do internship with the expectation of leaving the internship with a mentor. Have you actually had a mentoring experience before? And did you even know what to expect from a mentor at that point before we met? What was your experience like in mentoring from an older person this time, actually?
No, I've not had one that comes to mind. I think what I've mostly had is supervisors, or like just people that are older, people that are just generally kind and like explaining. Because before that internship, I did one in 2023, and my supervisor at that time, he was like, I see him as a mentor now, but it was never like a mentorship thing. It was more so just sitting down, having conversations, advising. Like I even till now, like I can still call him and just talk to him about school and everything, and he'll offer one or two things. But I feel prior to last year, I never really understood like what having a mentor was, because I'm so used to just having those kind of casual relationships with people, instead of like the kind of structured, oh, you are my mentor, you're my mentee. So no, I would say I've not.
Okay, but today you can say you have mentors.
Yes, today I have a mentor.
And you know what mentoring is and what to expect from a mentor. Okay, that's interesting to know. And so for David, I was just wondering, we have been on this journey for a year and but a year?
Yes.
A year now?
Yes.
Yeah. So were there specific moments in this journey that we have had, and we've done some group sessions, all of us on the round table, and we've done some individual ones as well. So I was just wondering, were there some times that these discussions that we do, whether the roundtable one or the one-on-ones that we have had, that's really helped you to shift your mindset in one way or in some way, assisted in your journey?
Yes, it does. The most recent one, which was some weeks ago, I was having some personal issues at work, and I'm usually someone who knows how to bottle up their emotions. So for me to be able to
Typical
share,
of guys, right?
for me to be able to share, I had added to my neck. And then I remember talking to you, and you shared your own experience. And one of the things that it left me with was, I remembered when I was hoping to get that job. It was something I was really looking forward to. And now getting it, I felt unhappy doing it. It just left me with something that most times we pray, we hope, we aspire to achieve some things, we aspire to get some things, and then we get those things and we see that, was it even what I wanted? But the truth is, most times when you aspire to get into a position and when you aspire to get somewhere, it takes another amount of work to now be able to sustain this new place that you're in now, because basically you are coming from a different place and now you are now in this new place. So you won't be doing the same thing you were doing before. You would apply more, you would push more, you know, different things will change. It's a new phase. So it's just a perspective of saying, okay, I'm here now, this is where I find myself. What do I need to do to excel in this particular thing I'm doing?
Absolutely.
And it was great that I had the talk with you.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I was just doing what I love to do, right? When you reached out to me that day, you touched on something that I wanted us to stay on a bit.
Okay.
When you talked about sometimes in life, we pray for something, we hope, we aspire, and we get there, and we find out that, oh, is this what, I mean, maybe these are not your words, but do you think that those scenarios, better preparation, are there ways that we can better prepare whilst praying and aspiring for the next level? You know, are there some ways that young people especially can prepare, you know, for the next phase of life? What do you think?
Okay.
I'll come to you with that question.
I think you never can really tell what the next phase has to offer or what the next phase will be like. I think that's where having a mentor or someone who has experience in that particular phase comes in, because the thing is, experience is costly. You pay with your time, you pay with your emotions, sometimes you even pay with your money. And instead of having to go through that phase alone, you know, not knowing what to do, having to go through it, should I say cluelessly or mindlessly, you now have somebody who has gone through that phase and them sharing their own experience with you. Is more like you having the same experience, but this time you're having it for free.
All right.
So, so you don't go through the emotional stress, you don't go through the time wasting, you don't go through all the things you ought to have gone through if you didn't know those things. So having a mentor, having someone who has passed through that phase or who is at the level that you are aiming to be at would help a lot, would condition your mind to know what to expect and how to handle issues.
I mean, that's interesting, because, you know, we live in our world, they used to say experience is the best teacher. But from what I hear you say, sometimes you don't really have to experience something, but you can learn from the experiences of those that have gone ahead. Correct?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much for sharing that perspective, because really this is what Storified Africa is all about. It's to be able to bring stories of those that have lived the journey to the next generation, so we can connect those dots. So for Chineye, I was just wondering if you have something to add to what David has said, or you have a different perspective.
I have a slightly different perspective.
Okay,
so
that's interesting. Let's hear.
I feel like in addition to mentorship, right, another thing that might help, like when you're preparing yourself for the next phase of life, is doing like a lot of, is it like shadow work, like work with yourself. Because yeah, you can aspire to something, but I feel for a number of people, or rather, okay, let me bring it to myself. For myself, when you reach, like David was saying, you're here, you end up here, and you need to do a certain amount of work for you to be able to sustain this level that you're at. Some of that work is external, like with mentors, but most of it can also be internal with yourself. So working on like, or maybe how you see yourself, because I know like sometimes you might get imposter syndrome, you might feel like am I actually meant to be here, asking like, and then when like the troubles of that level come, you might not be properly adapted to like handling it because of the way you're still thinking at the mentality of when you were down here. So I feel it's also important to like work on yourself too, in addition to getting like mentorship and advice and everything from other people.
Awesome. I mean, I'm so impressed at this that you just said now, because guys, I agree with what the two of you have said, because it's important to, in Africa, we used to say you can take a horse to the waterside, but you can't force the horse to drink water, correct? So that's perspective of working on your own mindset. I absolutely agree with that. So it's a lesson for every one of us, regardless the stage we're at in life, be it the early career or the student or a seasoned executive even. These are lessons that I think that are key. So thanks for sharing that. So I was just wondering, you know, from the lessons, what you guys have just shared now, you know, so when we look ahead, or if we can ask or give you guys a blank check, you represent your generation now, and we say this is a blank check. Ask from the next generation. For 1 second, be Oliver Twist. You ask for more. What would be that one thing that you're asking for? Maybe just to put it in perspective, you're not answering this question for only you, but think of your sister, your friend, someone in your age group, you know, that what is that thing you think Ayo would have asked for if Ayo were here? Or what is that thing you think that, you know, the next person would ask for if they were here? You know, Rosemary, Shegun, Kunle, yeah, so, but of course, you start with yourself. Blank check.
I think that's so loaded. I'm not so sure how to word this now, but I'll try my best.
Please.
So I would say what I would ask for is like, when it comes, when in online, on social media, you see a lot of people, and young people, older people that are doing like so many, like one person is a content creator, the person is also a law student, the person is also a writer, the person is also like, they are doing so many things. And I feel like there's so much pressure like for young people these days to not be idle, and being idle does not have like a proper definition. I'm on Twitter a lot, and what's trending is this man, he called a student idle.
What do you call it?
Twitter. There's a conversation that is trending.
What's trending?
A man called a student idle. He was like, oh, do you have anything you're doing? And she's like, no, I'm in school, I'm studying. And it was like, oh, you're idle, you don't have anything you're doing. And it's just like, no, the person is doing one thing. I wish like from the older generation, I wish we could see like, not necessarily like people should put themselves in a box, but like just more of like, you don't have to spread yourself so thin, and you don't have to put yourself into every single thing. You can try and experience things, yes, but like you can also just, it's okay to have one thing going on.
Absolutely.
Like, I wish we could have more of that conversation, because I feel like from the older generation, especially like someone that is in 15 years in experience, the person has done a lot of things over that 15 years, but I'm certain the person did not do all those things in their first 5 years. So you would want to have like talk more and explain like, okay, sometimes it takes time for you to grow and it takes time for you to build these experiences. You don't have to fit all these experiences into just 4 years. And what's the best way for you to fit all those experiences in like the course of your career? So
that's I think that's very deep and profound. It's a lesson that every day when I hear these things, you know, it helps me to really see the need. I see, I mean, before I started this, I see the need from observation. But the more I interact with people like you, you know, it helps me to really see that there's a true need. So thank you again, Chineye, for sharing that, because yeah, you touched on that fact that there's a lot of pressure for young people today to do many things. In my time, I mean, not that I'm so old. You already said that when you saw me in the lift, I looked like you thought I was your age mates, you know. It wasn't like it is today. So I think social media too has also made it, like you said, like you rightly said, social media has given that pressure. You know, everybody is doing something, and if I am not doing something, it means that I am a failure. So thanks again for sharing that. So David, I'm going to come to you with exact same question. What do you think?
I organized a training in church for teens and youths, and while engaging with one of the teens, ideally, those were not supposed to be the thoughts of a teen at that age, because I was using my own experience when I was that age to more like understand where she's coming from. And it just pointed me to see that the world has really changed from when I was that age. And I think what this generation would...
Which generation are you referring to?
My
Your
generation.
own or my own? Okay.
I think what my generation would need a lot is that understanding from the older generation that the world has changed a lot.
Yeah.
Things do not work the way it used to be before. It's not how it used to be. I mean, before you could go to school, maybe study law, study medicine, and you are guaranteed a good life. But basically, now it's different.
You have to be a doctor or something, right? Yeah.
it's a lot different now. So what I will ask is, it's still close to what Neye said, like ease on the pressure. Ease on the pressure of wanting to confine the youths of this generation to the pattern of how it has always been. You know, the world has changed. It's really not how it used to be. So when you try to confine my generation to how it was before, it's more like killing the flower before it blooms. So you don't get to see it express itself because you are covering it, so it doesn't bloom. So if they could allow us bloom, I think that's the best way to put it.
Thank you very much, David. You wanted to add something, but before you add, I think David just touched on an important message for everyone. I mean, every senior leader that has gone ahead. He says, do not kill the flower before it blooms. Sometimes we should allow the flower to bloom. So this is an important message, and I take that too as a feedback for myself. Thank you. So Chineye, you wanted to add something?
I was just agreeing with him because I feel like it's, again, with the pressure thing, like you just have so much, they want you to fit into this particular one path, or we're looking at life in this one particular way. But life is so dynamic. Things have changed so much. Like the kind of experiences, my sister is, I think she's 17, and the kind of experiences she's having in secondary school, I didn't have them. Like the kind of problems she's facing, and it's just 5 years. So imagine how much more different it is for me as someone that is like 20, my 20s, and then you also have someone that is in their 50s, and the person is trying to give me advice with their 50-year-old mindset is obviously not going to work out. So yeah, I agreed.
Okay. Thank you, guys. So, but So having heard this, I am now asking myself, yeah, on the one hand, we say the experiences are different because the generation times have changed. Absolutely, I agree. We live in a new generation. So how does the stories of those that have gone ahead, how would they help? If you believe that the generation has changed, yes, for the next generation, what ways do you think our stories or the stories of even the generation that has gone ahead of me, what ways do you think they can help now in this context based on this discussion we just had?
I feel like the times have changed, but the like core challenges are still the same. So
I like that.
it's not it's not
Yeah.
like at the end of the day, okay, if I use me and my sister now as an example, my sister, she's facing different challenges when it comes to, I think, okay, yeah, let's use TikTok. So she watches a lot of TikTok, right? And 5 years ago, TikTok was not a thing. When I was in secondary school, it wasn't like a thing that everyone was so attached to their phones watching. So that's a different, and that kind of distraction, TikTok is just a new form of distraction. And it's going to affect the way her grades are. So if you were to advise her or to advise me, or if I was to give her advice rather, you're obviously not going to just, you're going to take into consideration the current climate, but also understand that the challenge that she's facing is just something is distracting her from school. That's the only challenge. So I feel applying that to stories from older people, hearing about their journeys and everything, at the end of the day, what you're going to be facing is not anything new. You're probably going to face like maybe issues with your workplace colleagues, maybe dealing with failure, navigating life troubles, the ups and downs, and like, yeah, the time is different because it's 2025, but also
Yeah.
it's not it's not going to be a completely new thing. So I still think that there's space for these stories to be heard. I personally, I really like hearing stories of people that like, not necessarily like I like hearing people fail, but I like hearing how failure like shapes certain decisions in people's lives and how they are able to navigate that, because one thing is going to be constant is failure. Like you're going to fail in your journey, so it's very important to hear those kind of stories and understand that failure is just a part of the journey of success, not the end thing. So I still think there's space for it.
I agree with you, Chineye. So you touched on that thing of the core challenges of human beings. Humankind is still the same, even though the generation and the times are different. So thank you for touching on that. David, I'm also very curious about this too. What do you think?
Like Chineye said, right, while the world is a different place, some things never change. Some principles are still the same. Some systems are still the same. So hearing the stories of people that are ahead of you, people who have lived life, who are at the place you want to be, it will help a lot when you can fix it into the context within which you live in currently. Like when you shared your story on how you had to push, or how you had to basically you had to push. You had to.
You are referring to
a story you shared.
Okay, yeah.
Not even that. With this new position that you are now.
All right.
How you had to push, how you had to dare, you know. If I'm going to fix it into the context within which I live in, I'm someone who likes things happening the way it should be. I don't really like. I don't like. Not like I don't like change. I like things happening a certain way, and I used to have the thought that
Not
if
very
it's going
flexible,
to,
maybe.
if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. You know, but hearing that story from you, it's changed my mind in the sense that there are certain things you never achieve, certain places you never be, if you don't take the risk.
All right.
If you do not dare.
Right.
You know, taking that from your story and putting it in my own, you know, in my own context, I could apply it in my own life, you know, even if there is difference in our generation, but hearing that story now, applying it in my own life would, you know, would really do a lot.
Yeah, thank you very much. So basically, it means that you had a mindset before.
Yes.
And hearing the story that I shared with you, it helped you to shift that mindset. And today, that mindset shift alone is already unlocking change and access in other ways. Much. Wow, that's very impressive. And thank you. And it's really encouraging to hear that these things, you know, the past 1 year we've been doing this mentoring together. It's we're seeing it. So, but so Chinenye, you touched on TikTok, your sister's case. I mean, not specifically your sister, but you use that example of her generation, which is different from yours, and you touched on TikTok. I was just laughing because really, I will say it here. I have never used TikTok before. I don't know. Wow. I mean, but now I'm beginning to come out. So, yeah. So, I look at social media, Instagram, you know, Facebook, and the rest, and I see how much information we have there. So sometimes I wonder, though, can't you get some of this information or the advice that you need to navigate your journey from this social media, or even maybe not only social media, the AI today using ChatGPT and the rest? Have you tried, or do you think that is a good source, a good resource to leverage for young people?
I would say no.
Why no?
Because, well, first, there's a lot of misinformation online, and it's so easy for like someone to, like, I don't know how to word this, but like tell a story that it didn't actually happen to them, like just be talking about things or giving some pieces. Like, it's so easy for me. Everybody has a microphone these days.
That's true.
It's so easy. It's so easy to grab a mic and just start talking without actually like doing any of the work. So I would say first, like using social media, not really. Using AI, I feel AI is very controversial, and I feel it's a very powerful tool. And there's a lot you can learn from it, like especially like if you're using ChatGPT or something. But I strongly believe that AI cannot replace human relationships, and it should never be used.
Life experience.
Exactly, it should never be used to replace it. Like, never use it as an alternative. If you want to use AI, sure, why not? But like, if you want to actually gain experience, guidance, counseling, go to a human being. Why are you going to a robot that was trained by human beings? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. So
I mean, yeah, thanks for that. But just for our listeners, just to put things in perspective, yes, she doesn't mean that AI is bad.
No, I don't mean AI is bad.
I mean, for us, most of us, we see it as a productivity tool. It's helped us, you know, to be more productive in the jobs that we do, even in our workplaces. We use Gen AI, right? You know, to boost productivity. So it's the usage, how you use it now that Chinenye is actually talking about. You know that, and so thank you for that experience and for sharing that perspective. So David, I don't know if you share a different perspective or you want to add something new to what Chinenye just said.
Like I chipped in, nothing beats a real life experience, you know. So having someone who you can see, you can feel, and you can touch, having that kind of person, you know, share that experience with you, won't be like hearing somebody afar off, you know, because as Chinenye said, you never can tell the authenticity of their story.
Yeah.
You never can tell, but when someone who is close to you tells you their own experience, at least you have proof, It's easier to believe.
Yeah, these stories are actually everywhere. Unfortunately, we don't tell the stories enough. They are everywhere in our homes. We have them in our streets. I mean,
Yes.
I've seen situations whereby, some of my mates will be talking to their younger ones, or even people that they are mentoring, or even their children, and they're like, you mean your child did not know this part of you, did not know this story? How come they're hearing this for the first time? So the stories live in our homes. They live in our offices. I recall getting to go to one of our senior executives, and I had a word with him, and when he shared part of his story, and I asked him that, sir, I've known you for years. I see you almost every day or every week. And if someone had told me that this was your experience, I wouldn't have imagined it. And I asked him that, please, can you share these stories to a wider population? So I think I agree with you guys, that having to hear someone who has gone through an experience, it's very good opportunity. And in Africa, we used to say this proverb that says that what an elder sees sitting down, a child that is standing up would not see it.
Yeah.
And I thought to add my own too, that a child that is even with AI would not see it. So it's good that more and more of these stories, are told, not only told, but told in a form that the next generation can connect with them, because human experience had really not changed from what you shared, which is very true. But I'm just wondering though, so talking about these free stories, do you have some tools or some places that you have actually been going to hear people's story before now? Or you just approach people and you start to ask them their stories?
I listen to podcasts.
All right, nice.
I listened to podcasts just this last week. I listened to Shark Tank and
Shark Tank?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Roberts, I can't get his last name now, but he shared his story coming from, he's even an immigrant, coming from another country, having to live the life of an immigrant, not having much, but somehow making it into the 1% of the society. It's still inspires me a lot that people from, the lowest of the lowest background can still find their way to, the peak of the society.
Yeah.
So hearing those stories, I listen to podcasts a lot. I don't go to TikTok.
Oh, really? So you're like me.
I don't go to TikTok. I use Instagram a lot too, but I only follow specific people like John Obidi too. I listen to John Obidi, and I think he also had the same experience. He also schooled in Edo State. I think Benson Idahosa University. So hearing these stories, hearing these people share their experience, it's leaves you with the belief that those stories can also be replicated in your life.
Absolutely. I love that.
That could be you in some years.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, I tell people, I don't know if I've shared it with you guys before, when I had the opportunity to do my internship in the oil and gas industry, and there were some people I saw. I've even written about one, Omolara, on LinkedIn. If you go on my LinkedIn, you will find it. And the first time I walked into that rig, I saw her, I was like, I'd like to be like her someday, And, but looking back, this is many years down the line, I see that, okay, those possibilities, that image I walked away with that day, somehow some of these things have become possible. So I love that. There was something you talked about earlier, that everybody today has a microphone. I wanted to respond to that. Recently I was listening to someone and she said that, unfortunately, people that have real message, true message, we're hiding behind,
True.
we're hiding in our confines, in our comfort zone. But for those that have nothing to say, they are the ones that are out there, doing all the master classes, doing something, they have something, they have packaged something that on social media today. So it's true, everybody has microphone. For those that have a message, please, for every listener, you have something important to share. Let's come out and share. You can already hear from these ones that the next generation need to hear more of our stories. They need to know how we even did it, and it helps them to shift their mindset. And there are things that they can, there are possibilities everywhere that they can, leverage on and say, this is possible because Efemena did it, and, I too can do it because this person did it, I can do it, And as we begin to wrap up, I'm going to pass the mic to you guys. So I will start with Chineye. So if I pass the mic to you, what would be that one question that you would like to ask me today?
Okay, I just finished school, right?
Okay. Yes.
And I feel like life, there are different aspects that I need to focus on. And my question for you is, as a young person that is just starting their career, like, what are you prioritizing? Like, because I've identified 3 things for me to prioritize: my friendships, my career, and money.
And money.
Yes.
All right. I love that. You're not afraid to say it. It's good. I will share a story with you.
So, like, which one do I prioritize? Do I look and say, okay, I want to build my career and focus on building that? Do I focus on chasing money? What of like my friendships? Like, because I'm bringing friendships in because there are some opportunities, like we're all young and we're all going to be applying for jobs, applying for different opportunities. So like, I'm not saying like sacrificing anything for anyone, but like, do I focus on nurturing those friendships? Maybe like I know a friend wants to work at this company, so I won't apply there because I don't want to like take that opportunity from them or something like this kind of like,
I don't know why you chose to ask me this question right here and not in private. But I will give it my best shot.
Okay.
First and foremost, I think for the fact that you already have identified 3 things that are priority right now, it's a great one. I'm not sure when I was fresh out of uni, I had this kind of, priorities list that I've identified. Although then I knew that I wanted to go study abroad. This was on the top of my list. Yeah. So what should you prioritize? You touched on your career, friendship, and money. So I said I was going to tell you a story about money. Let me start with the story first. It's good that you talked about money because money is important, right? Yeah. So I once went for a job interview. This was way back. And they asked me my motivation or my aspiration, and I didn't touch on money. And someone asked me that, don't you want the money? I said, no, that I'm not doing this for the money. I'm just doing this, Well, in a way, it was true because I loved, when I saw the advert, I loved the job advert. But of course, the money was at the back of my mind. But in my time, we didn't have that boldness to be able to say, oh, money was, yeah. So it's good that, I didn't get that job. Yeah, I was put there. I mean, I'm not saying it because no, that's not the reason why I did not get the job, but I thought to mention it. So it was good that you can, say that. So to answer your question, I think that these 3 things you talked about now, they are intertwined in one way or the other. Yeah. So connection or friendships, it's paramount. No man is an island. We always say that, right? And there's some opportunities, you already said it, that you might come your way from a friend. So it's always important to nurture your friendships. But I don't think, this is me speaking, yeah. So I don't think that you nurture your relationships at the expense of your career. They can go hand in hand, right? I mean, say hello to your friends once in a while. It doesn't mean that you're just going to be, talking with your friends on the phone for 24 hours or for 8 hours and not use some time to dedicate at, and you already know, your friends, the ones that you can, they say birds of a feather, they flock together. So, your friends that you can, share ideas, inspiration with, say, want to apply for this job, this thing came out, let's prepare, let's even start practicing for aptitude tests together, the same way you did it in school. Yeah, so that way you're also nurturing those relationships. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you do one at the expense of the other. So they can go hand in hand. Yeah. Then you talked, the last one was money.
Yes.
Of course, when that big thing comes, it comes with money. So you're not pursuing money at the expense of the other. So I think that in a way they are kind of all,
together.
Yeah, they are all connected in one way or the other. Yeah. So pursue money at the expense of career, unless you want to pursue money in some illegal way, because unless this is what is coming to mind, I'm just thinking. So I believe that they are intertwined. You could pursue money out of your passion. It's still, you're growing something. You translate your passion into a money-making business. Yeah. I mean, I know people today that are, they can talk and they have groomed themselves, refined themselves into making a passion, translating their passion into something else. I have a young girl who says she makes this thing I'm wearing now. Yeah. And she's just going into university. But guess what? She got order from people. They are. So we try to have a conversation to say, what? Focus on your book. But this is our passion. And we say, what we try to agree between me and her was, what? As you go to university, focus on your book. But towards the end of the school term or semester, we call it, you cannot take orders. So that when you get home for holidays, this will keep you busy.
Yeah, you can have.
And you make little money. Not because her parents are not able to train her, but because it's a passion. And she's trying to grow that thing, And I think in this age and time, it's always good to have something
doing.
Yeah, this is my opinion. So I don't know if this answers your question or...
It does. Yeah,
okay,
it does.
Thank you. So if I pass the mic to Mr. David. Yeah.
Okay. So it's so easy for for the older generation to say this is how you're supposed to do it. So I'm asking you now, Ma, if you were to be born in our time, how would you have done things differently? How would you have moved with life? What would you have done differently?
Maybe I would have been bolder. Yeah. I would have been bolder, more courageous, and more audacious. Because in our time, it was more like, oh, the elder has spoken and it's final. This is what you have to do. I mean, I remember I once said, as a child, someone older said something, and I said, that is not true. And I was like, stop it. Elders don't lie. I was like, oh, But today, it's changed, right? Yeah. So these were the ways we grew up in Africa. If I were born in this generation, I would have been bolder. Because today, it took me it was a long journey that for me to become, bold. And there was a time, okay, I'll touch on this. I remember my first job in the UK, when I did my performance review, you're not working, so you're working at, so at the end of the year, towards the end of the year, you do the annual performance review or appraisal. And my manager then wrote, Femena is very good. She's this. She can be very proactive. She can be, excellent at her job, but she can be timid sometimes. I'm like, So I got that feedback and I began to research, everything that is opposite of being timid, right? So thankfully, the organization I was working for then they had soft skills, loads of soft skills training. So if you go on the company's intranet, that's the internal website, if you go on their intranet, there were lots of training courses that you would see, you know. So I started to pick the ones. I remember I registered for being assertive, how to be assertive and to express yourself, you know, body language, you know, how to communicate. These were things I had to make conscious effort to do these things, right? And few years down the line, I had moved to a new organization, and it got to performance review, you know, and the comment was a comment from this manager saying, "Oh, she's so bold, she's so this." I was like, "Oh, really?" You know, so just to touch on, you know, it's a bit of the journey. So, but if I were in this generation, born now, I will be bolder because, of course, everything is, you can say, young kid can speak to an adult. I listened to someone yesterday said, in our time or in her time, if an elder or your manager asks you to jump, your response will be, how high do you want me to jump? But in today's generation, it will be why, you know? So if I were born now, I might have been bolder from start. Maybe pursue more of my passion. Yeah, like Chineye said that the older generation, you see someone doing one thing and, you know, maybe a bit more risky, to take a bit more risk. Yeah, to take more of those risks, because sometimes in life you never know. Yeah. So this will be my response to that question. I don't know if I mean, I don't know, maybe this passing the mic thing is not a good idea. But before we wrap up, I mean, the idea again that what we do in Storified Africa, we see everybody's a leader, regardless where you are at your journey. This is one important message that we are passing on to everybody. Thank you for speaking about your sister. You know, I can already see that you are, you know, mentoring your sister. Then you talked about talking to a young person in church. Your church. Yeah. You know, so this is exactly what we're doing with Storified Africa. Everybody is a leader, regardless where you are at. You don't need that corner office. You don't need that title to be seen or to begin to see yourself as a leader. And you also touched on imposter syndrome, you know, so it's high time we began to see ourselves as leaders, because there's always a generation behind us. Yeah. Regardless where you're at, there are people that are ahead of me that I'm looking forward to, even right now. Those people I'm looking forward up to, they are possibly looking up to others that have gone ahead of them. You know, there are people that are looking at you guys now in this generation. You know, that 10-year-old is looking up to you guys. Maybe not at me, but you guys. So this is what we're doing with Storified Africa. And as much as possible, let's get our voices storified. And to wrap up, I don't know if you have something that you like to add to this discussion, and or an important message that you want to share with our listeners today.
I wouldn't say add, but more so just like emphasize, like in your story that you were telling, how you received feedback and you heard, oh, she's timid. So you went to like research how to be the opposite of that, and you were able to grow from that. I feel like, like just to emphasize that it's very important to always, not to see feedback as like constructive, and to learn how to grow from it, not necessarily like just internalize it and just like buckle down and be like, oh, I'm timid, okay, fine, I will not change. Like, no,
go and cry.
Like actually grow and learn. And so I just want to emphasize that and add that.
Thank you. For you, David, what is next?
What is next? I would say taking risks. That's what's next. Because I've had so many things in mind to do. One of those things is starting a YouTube and TikTok account where I also share my story. Nice. And I've been planning it for the whole year.
So it's time to do. Go and do it.
One of the things holding me back is just, I don't even know how I'm sitting here talking to the camera. I don't know how I'm sitting here talking to the camera, but one of the things that has been holding me back is just being camera shy. And I would say there's an endless possibility to how our life can be. There's so much more that we can be. In line with, starting to share my story, I started by sharing on the blog. I started the blog.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah. And then I had started one before in 2020, but I stopped for some reason. I think it was during the COVID-19 when I came back home from school. I started the blog, and when I wanted to start again, I went back to the page and I saw my first post then in 2020, and I was just regretting why I wasn't consistent, why I didn't, keep it moving. I just thought of the endless possibilities that could have come with me having a community of people hearing my story, people who I share my story with. So much could have happened between 2020 and 2025. That's 4 years between those 2 years, and a lot could have happened, a lot could have changed.
True.
So it was just a prompt to me to take more risks, to step out more, to, put myself out there more.
Nice. I mean, I take that from you. Really, it's a lesson, for me as well. What you just shared now. They used to say that the best time to have planted a tree. I don't know if you've heard that. Yeah. The best time to have planted a tree was 20 years ago.
20 years ago.
But the next best time is when?
Now.
It's now. So the message is, do it regardless. Yeah. Just go and do it. So thank you, and thanks for sharing that blog with me. I think I read the last one you wrote. Yeah. So thank you very much for what you're doing, and keep it up. Thanks for talking about the feedback, and these are important messages for our listener. And so thank you very much, our listeners. So our listeners, as you can see, the message is clear that we need, for those of us that have gone ahead, we need to share a bit more of our stories, because the next generation, even with social media and AI, they are still looking up to us to share the stories. So let's go on and let's get storified.